JD.
We got Steph Castle right here. First team all defense. Hey, he put it in a box. I'm telling you right now.
What if the Spurs already have their future starting backcourt and one of their highest paid players is standing in the way? Because I believe Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper could eventually become the perfect long-term backcourt next to Victor Wembanyama. And after everything Castle learned from last season's playoff experience, plus Harper stepping more into the picture, the Spurs might be closer to something special than people realize. But that creates a problem. Who actually starts? Because in my opinion, the answer should be simple. The players who fit best and fit together the best should start. I don't care who makes the most money, I don't care who has the biggest name, and I definitely don't think the player should automatically start just because his contract is bigger. But that's exactly the situation San Antonio could eventually find itself in. And it all comes down to De'Aaron Fox. Fox is obviously talented, nobody is questioning that, but after the way he played in the playoffs, I think the Spurs should have to seriously evaluate whether he's the best long-term fit next to Wembanyama, Castle, and Harper. Because when you're building a team around a generational player like Wemby, the question isn't who's the biggest star, the question is what lineup gives Victor Wembanyama the best chance to win championships. And if Castle and Harper eventually prove they're the answer, San Antonio shouldn't be afraid to make the difficult decision. That could mean Fox coming off the bench or eventually mean trading him away. And that sounds crazy right now, but championship teams don't build their lineups around contracts, they build them around winning. And here's the twist. The timing might actually be perfect for the Spurs, because San Antonio is getting better and one of his biggest rivals is getting worse. Oklahoma City was one of the deepest teams in basketball, but keeping an elite roster together is almost impossible. They couldn't keep their depth, and that matters because the NBA has gotten better. The Western Conference is loaded, so if the Thunder loses pieces while the Spurs continue adding and developing young talent, the gap between these two teams shrink much faster than people expect, and that's why Castle and Harper are so important. Castle gives the Spurs physicality, defense, and playmaking. Harper gives them another dynamic scorer and creator. Together, they can take massive amount of pressure off of Victor Wembanyama, and when you put three young players with that much talent on the same timeline, that's how dynasties begin. But there's one thing that could stop this core from staying together: money. Wemby, Castle, and Harper are going to get paid, and if Fox is still around, San Antonio could eventually face some very difficult decisions because of the second apron. That's the part nobody wants to talk about. Building the championship core is hard, keeping one together is harder. The Spurs might have enough talent for this group to stay together for years, potentially for their entire careers. But the second apron doesn't care how talented your team is, eventually somebody has to make sacrifices. And that's why the next few seasons are so important. San Antonio has to figure out exactly who belongs and who doesn't, who fits next to Wemby, who deserves to start, and who's worth paying when contracts start getting bigger. Because I genuinely believe Victor Wembanyama, Castle, and Harper have the potential to become the foundation of a team that wins multiple championships. But potential means nothing if you make the wrong decisions. The Spurs have talented young stars, and now they have a chance to build something that could last for a decade. But next season could be the moment everything starts to change. Because Castle is coming back with playoff experience, Harper is coming in with something to prove, and Wemby is only getting better. The Spurs are looking like they are ready to take over the NBA, and if San Antonio makes the right decisions, the question won't be whether this team can win a championship. The question will be how many they can win before this core breaks apart. And if that happens, the NBA might look back at last season as the year the Spurs dynasty truly began.